Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Hey, we're going to talk about Leo and Mikey. Huh, who could that be? Leo and Mikey. Leonardo, short for Leonardo would be the Leo, right? And then Michelangelo would be Mikey, which is kind of fun. I had never heard this before. I was telling Tom before we started, I didn't know that they had kind of an art battle, a talent battle. One of them was older. Leonardo da Vinci at this point was 51, which actually is quite old for back then. People didn't live as long as they do now. And then Michelangelo was the upstart. We use that word to talk about someone who thinks they're cool, is trying to challenge older people. Michelangelo was 29. So we're going to talk about where the battle was, who won, and a little bit about their personalities as well. Let's get started. We're going to read through today's lesson, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
The city of Florence, Italy was buzzing with excitement in 1504. Its ruler had just commissioned 2 paintings for the Hall of the 500 in its town hall. Both paintings were to depict battles Florence had won, but it was the battle between the artists themselves that was capturing everyone's imagination. Leonardo da Vinci would paint one wall, while the opposite wall was given to his young rival, Michelangelo. 2 of the greatest artists of the Renaissance, or indeed of any era, were going head-to-head. At the time, Leonardo was 51 and had earned his reputation as a genius. He'd recently finished the Mona Lisa, and his name was known throughout Europe. However, Michelangelo, then 29, was already being talked about as Leonardo's equal, or perhaps even his superior. Having just finished the now famous David statue, he was ready to prove himself. Adding to the drama, the 2 men didn't get along. Leonardo described Michelangelo's paintings as wooden, while the younger man annoyed Leonardo so much with his antisocial attitude that Leonardo moved to France to avoid him. Sadly, neither painting was ever completed. Leonardo erected a huge scaffold for the Battle of Anghiari and tried out new paints. However, the paints ran together and the painting was ruined. As with many of his works, Leonardo lost interest in this project and moved on. Michelangelo, meanwhile, never progressed further than the drawings for his Battle of Cascina. He was called to Rome to work for the Pope, and the drawing was later destroyed. Parts of each work were copied by other artists and still exist in some form, but these fragments are all that remain of the greatest arts competition of the Renaissance.
Okay, guys, let's take a look at the title first. When you see VS like that, it means 2 people or 2 groups are opposing one another. It could be a game, could be maybe a case where they go to court to fight each other. Here we've got 2 artists, Leonardo versus, and that's how you say that, versus Michelangelo. And we're calling this the Renaissance's ultimate painting contest. The Renaissance was a period of history, 14th to the 16th century, and we often use it when we're talking about the culture of that time or paintings of that time. Nowadays, if someone is described as a Renaissance man, it usually means this person is quite talented in different areas. Probably a good writer, a good speaker, maybe he knows a lot about politics, who knows, but someone who's well-rounded and has a lot of gifts or talents. So we're talking about 2 artists from the Renaissance period, and they've got the ultimate painting contest. Ultimate is often added these days to describe something that's like a big battle. You know, maybe there's a big video game battle, the ultimate. If you win win the ultimate prize. It means the best prize, the greatest prize. Ultimate can also mean last, is like the last thing to happen, right? Not last place. But this is a pretty big battle considering the two names we're looking at, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, are both very famous as being artists.
The fight of the 16th century, the ultimate battle. In this particular case, it was the ultimate painting contest of the Renaissance, which was, of course, a period of European history where the arts were reborn. Renaissance.
Yes.
Yeah, and Renaissance is the American pronunciation. I believe if you go to England, you'll probably hear Renaissance.
It is Renaissance in England.
As their pronunciation. But we'll use the American pronunciation since we are Yankees here. So, yes, the Renaissance's ultimate painting contest was between Leonardo and Michelangelo. I'd never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So let's go to Italy here. The city of Florence, Italy was buzzing with excitement in 1504. Gee, that's over 500 years ago. But the arts scene was very active at the time. It was buzzing with excitement. People were really excited about what was happening. The ruler of Florence, its ruler, had just commissioned 2 paintings for the Hall of the 500 in its town hall. I wonder if that town hall is still standing, but in that town hall of Florence, there was a Hall of the 500. And the ruler said, hey, I'd like to have 2 paintings painted here. I will pay artists to paint those. So that's what commissioned here means. Basically, the ruler came up with some money, found some sponsors or something like that, and paid some painters to paint some paintings.
Yeah, if you're an artist, it's hard if you work and as you're painting or producing something, you need money to live on, right? So if you receive a commission, you're paid up front a lot of the money because it's the money that you'll use to pay your bills while you're producing your work of art. So the ruler commissioned these 2 paintings. Now, both paintings were to depict battles Florence had won. But it was the battle between the artists themselves that was capturing everyone's imagination. We had a vocabulary word depiction in one of our units. This is the verb form of that noun depiction, to depict. To depict just means to show in usually a visual form what something's like. So you're showing something or representing something, usually by doing a drawing or painting, or maybe you're a graphics artist and you're producing a depiction using the computer. You have some sort of software that's helping you, come up with something beautiful to depict a battle. So they were going to represent or show the battles Florence had won. Florence was a really big town for art back then. If you go to Italy, you got to go to Florence if you want to see the great paintings and statues and things. So that was exciting, yeah. But what people really were excited about was not the artists, not the paintings that they were going to produce, but the artists themselves, because they were going to fight each other. See who was the best at capturing the battles that Florence had won. I think when you put 2 people who are both really talented, popular against each other, it just makes the battle so much more exciting.
Yeah, it brings out the best in them. Their egos are at stake there, so of course they want to produce something really memorable in that competition. They don't want to lose face. And we should say that in this period of European history, lots of these city-states were kind of on their own, and they would fight other cities. So it wasn't just Italy fighting against Switzerland or something like that. We had Florence fighting maybe Venice or whatever. They were
Rome,
indeed, so they were fighting different cities or different areas of Italy here. And of course, the ruler of Florence wanted to look good. So he said, hey, paint some paintings that will depict the battles that Florence has won. And, of course, the real battle was between the artists themselves. They wanted to capture everyone's imagination, of course. That means that everybody was interested in that. Yeah, we know Florence won those battles in the past. It'll be nice paintings, but what we really want to see is the battle between those artists. We want to read about them in the gossip columns of newspapers and stuff like that. We want to hear them actually arguing in City Square about who's the better painting. That's what we're really interested in.
Yeah, they didn't like each other, which just makes it more exciting. You know, if both sides like each other, it's not as exciting. It's when the teams, even today in sports, when the teams hate each other and there's a big rivalry, it just is so much more fun. So Leonardo da Vinci would paint one wall, and the opposite wall was given to his young rival Michelangelo. I talked about the difference in age. Leonardo da Vinci was quite old at this point in his life. Michelangelo was the youngster at 29. So when you have a rival, you have somebody that you feel is your competition. You know, they're pretty good. And it seems like maybe two of you or the two teams always end up trying to beat each other at the end, a rival. So you're competing with one other person or maybe even another group for some sort of prize. Maybe you're at work and you have a rival and you both want to be promoted to a position. And, you know, they're your rival, they're your toughest competition. And of course, it makes it more exciting when you're pretty even in terms of your skills or talent. So his rival was Michelangelo.
Yeah, back in high school, I had a crush on Mary Ellen. But unfortunately, this other guy named Bruce Bringle had a crush on Mary Ellen as well. So he was my rival.
Totally.
And, well, he had a big Ford LTD or something like that. And I was just driving a little Volkswagen Beetle. So, of course,
a Ford
he won.
LTD is a truck? Is that a truck?
It's a big luxury car, basically,
nice.
at the time.
Wow.
So, yeah, Mary Ellen or Mary Jane. I can't remember her name, actually. It was a long time ago. She liked Bruce better, but he was my rival for a little while. But that's okay because, you know, there are plenty of fish in the ocean.
Wait, who ended up getting Mary Ellen?
Bruce won that battle.
Darn
but,
it.
It was for the better because later on I got a crush on Brenda. Or was it Lisa? Or was it Jane?
Lots of girls to love.
Yeah,
huh?
it's,
okay.
you know, boys. You always can divert your attention elsewhere. But that wasn't the case in Florence here. We've got Leonardo and Michelangelo fighting it out on the canvas here, and two of the greatest artists of the Renaissance, or indeed of any era, were going head-to-head. So era here just means a period of history. You could talk about the medieval era of European history. Here we're talking about the Renaissance. You could talk about the Baroque era or the classical era. True. But here we're talking about the Renaissance era, and these two artists were going head-to-head. They were going one-on-one against each other.
Yeah, era. It has two pronunciations. You can say era, like air that we breathe, or era. They're both correct. It's a distinctive period of history, and it has certain features or characteristics that you study about, and you know it's the Renaissance if it has a particular style of music or their literature or even their architecture. You look at all those things. Now, if you go head-to-head, you go against each other. You know, if there's a head-to-head battle, it just means they're competing against each other. You know, with the tennis tournaments, they always go head-to-head. Ooh, head-to-head battle. So we're going to talk more about this head-to-head battle and also about what these artists were actually like. But first, we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 里奥纳多·达文西跟米开朗基罗谁比较厉害？我们看标题 Renaissance 是文艺复兴时期 Ultimate 终极的。好，在当时佛罗伦斯的统治者叫他们在市政厅各画一幅画来描绘他们这地方曾经赢得的战役。但是我们到第一题的地方，空格 was 是这个艺术家的之争。Capturing 引起捕捉到每个人的关注。这题要考你分列句型 It is 再加强调部分，再加 that 加句子剩余的部分。原来的句子呢，主词 The battle between the artists themselves 动词 was capturing 捕捉到 everyone's imagination。可是我们现在要强调的是这两个艺术家之争，而不是当初佛罗伦斯的战争，所以我们要把强调的部分放到 it is 的后面，因此这题答案就选 D it。 所以一面墙给达文西，一面墙给米开朗基罗，他们就正面交锋 head to head。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue our lesson for today. We're talking about the battle of the 16th century between Leonardo and Michelangelo. They were commissioned to do two paintings in City Hall there to depict Florence winning various battles, and the competition was between Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Okay, so at the time, Leonardo was 51 and had earned his reputation as a genius. So again, that's Leonardo da Vinci, the guy who did the paintings and the Mona Lisa and stuff like that. So he already had his reputation. People thought of him as a genius.
He was.
And he'd recently finished the Mona Lisa, and his name was known throughout Europe. So he was very popular, very well known throughout. All over Europe.
All across, throughout, all over. All of those are good names, throughout. Maybe you have been asked to clean up your home. Maybe it's your turn to clean the house, and you walk around the home, and throughout each room, you find lots of dust and garbage on the floor throughout. All over, throughout. So Michelangelo was significantly younger. He was only 29, but he was already being talked about as Leonardo's equal. Sounds like he had some fans who were maybe talking crap about people, you know.
Talking trash?
Talking trash, yeah, trash talker. We know there's a lot of trash talking in sports events, especially with teams. Yeah, trash talking. It happens in basketball probably more than anywhere else.
Or Muhammad Ali was known to trash talk Joe Frazier. I'm going to beat him. He's a loser. He's going to really suffer when I get done punishing him.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about them as being superior or equal in talent, which I don't think is fair. I think Da Vinci was much more talented. And maybe there were even people going around saying Michelangelo was Da Vinci's superior, meaning he was even better. Having just finished the now famous David statue, that's one of the statues you can see if you go to Florence. He was ready to prove himself. He wasn't afraid to compete against Leonardo. So adding to the drama, because it was pretty exciting back then, the two men didn't get along. I love this. I love it when they don't like each other. It's so much more fun. Leonardo described Michelangelo's paintings as being wooden.
Ooh.
That is so rude. Wooden just means there's no emotion or feeling in them, right? You just see technique. And that's a burn. That's a really bad burn on someone. If you burn someone, you insult them. It's some sort of rude comment you make. And the younger man annoyed Leonardo so much with his antisocial or antisocial. You could say it either way. I say antisocial. If you're antisocial, guys, you don't like to hang out with other people. You don't like to go to parties. You don't hang out with friends. You like to be alone. He had sort of an antisocial attitude. And so Leonardo actually moved to France to avoid Michelangelo. He really hated him.
Interesting. And France is kind of far from Italy,
Yeah.
so I wonder how they continued their paintings.
Yeah.
But in any case, here in the next paragraph it says, sadly, neither painting was ever completed. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen what they came up with here.
Me too.
But unfortunately, or sadly, neither one of those paintings was completed. Leonardo erected a huge scaffold for the Battle of Anghiari and tried out new paints. So Leonardo was involved in this. He actually erected a scaffold. To erect means to build, just like Michelangelo did in the Sistine Chapel there. He erected a huge scaffold to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, you know.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, Leonardo built this huge scaffold, which would be, you know, lots of poles and platforms so you can be high in the air to do your artwork. And he tried out different kinds of paints here. When you're a painter, of course, you go to the art store and you try different kinds of paints from different manufacturers, different colors with different materials like oil or acrylic or egg tempera or whatever. So he tried out these new paints. Unfortunately, though, I guess it just didn't work out for him.
Well, the paints ran together, so the colors kind of ran into each other. They combined, and the painting was ruined.
Ooh.
If something's ruined, it's destroyed. You can't really save it. Ruined. I hate that. So it's something that's physically either destroyed or hurt to the point where you can't fix it. It's always going to be ruined. The painting was ruined. As with many of his works, Leonardo lost interest in this project and moved on. This man had such an amazing mind. I think that he got bored with just sticking with one subject, you know. He studied medicine. He studied aviation, you know. So he was an amazing mind. He's definitely a genius to me. Now, Michelangelo, meanwhile, he's the young guy. He never progressed further than the drawings for the Battle of Cascina. So he did take the time to kind of sketch a drawing, to kind of figure out how he was going to paint his painting. But he was called to Rome to work for the Pope. The Pope, of course, is the head of the Catholic Church and is the ruler of Vatican City. It's its own little country in Italy. And the drawing was later destroyed. Oh, that's sad too. So they don't even have his drawing.
Wow, they just kind of both lost interest or they got involved in other projects.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Chinese expression 不了了之. It just kind of fell by the wayside.
Oh, really?
It kind of petered out.
Yeah.
They all lost interest. Maybe the leader of Florence just didn't pay them enough or something. So they moved on to other things. And it does say here that Michelangelo was called to Rome to work for the Pope, who, of course, is the head of the Catholic Church, and the drawing was later destroyed. Now, parts of each work were copied by other artists.
Oh.
So I guess they still exist in some form, but not in the original form. They were copied, and they do still exist in some form, but we're describing them as being fragments. A fragment is just something that's left over from a larger whole. Like when they find skeletons from thousands of years ago, they're usually in fragments, you know, like a jawbone here or a tooth or part of a skull, but never the whole thing. So they're just small parts, fragments.
Yeah, sometimes your tooth will break off into fragments. It's in pieces. It's not whole. So yeah, unfortunately, and the fragments that were left behind were parts that were copied by other artists. I would like to see the original, but it's kind of an interesting idea. I'd never heard this before, so we got to thank our writer, Pat, who came up with this. It's kind of interesting. All that remain are these fragments of the greatest arts competition of the Renaissance. Truly, I bet the hype around this was pretty big to begin with, but a lot of the artwork that you produce, it takes a long time to paint a whole wall.
Sure.
So I can see how, you know, other things would intrude on that and you'd get distracted, I'm sure. Right now, someone who's never distracted and is always paying attention is our Chinese teacher. We're going to listen now.
好，当时达文西是51岁，已经大有名声了。他刚完成蒙娜丽莎的像。However， 第二题的地方，米开朗基罗29岁，被说成是达文西的 equal 和 equal 相等的，这里当名词表示并驾齐驱的人，甚至是他的什么东西。我们来看一下选项 A 选项 immigrant 是外来的移民， B superior 比较厉害的人， C consumer 消费者顾客， D inferior 比较差的人。 前面有个 even 甚至来修饰，可以推知第二题空格要填比前面更厉害的名词，所以呢，我们答案选 B superior。米开朗基罗甚至被说成可能比达文西还厉害。刚完成大卫雕像，他正准备要证明自己。第三题的地方 adding to the drama。Add 是增添、增加的意思，更增加戏剧效果的是这两个人无法怎么样子。我们看选项 A fall out 是吵架， B show off 炫耀卖弄， C get along 和睦相处， D take over 接手接管。后面的句子提到说，达文西说米开朗基罗的画是 wooden 呆板呆滞的。然而呢，这个年轻的艺术家米开朗基罗惹毛了这个达文西，用他的 anti-social attitude， 这就是一种反社会的态度，以至于这个达文西干脆搬家避开他。从这个句子的暗示说，这两个人根本就是水火不容，无法好好的和睦相处。所以第三题答案选 C get along。 第四题 sadly 怎么样子Ever completed. Complete 是完成、结束的意思。句子呢，题目到这里线索不足，所以我们从后面来看，发现说达文西的安吉亚里战役这幅画呢 was ruined 被摧毁了。倒数第二句的地方发现米开朗基罗的 drawing 草图也是被 destroyed 被摧毁了，表示这两幅画都没有完成。我们看选项，选 A。Neither painting was 两幅画都没有被完成。好，我们这里来认识一下 neither 这个用字。neither 表示两者都没有或者是无一的意思，所以它后面要加单数的名词，而且它如果是放在主词的地方，要配合单数动词来使用。那我们到第五题的地方，米开朗基罗同时 never 怎么样子 further更进一步 than 是超过，那 drawings 画作或草图的意思，它后面的卡西纳战役。好，我们看选项 A ceased 停止， B retreated 撤退， C framed 裱框， D progressed 进步进展。那句子呢，后面暗示说它的草图稍后被 destroyed 被毁掉了，也就是说呢，它这个画呢没有办法进展到超过草图这一块，所以我们答案选 D progressed 表示进步进展的意思。好，我们补充一下 progress 的用法。如果呢它是动词的话，重音在第二音节，表示进展或者是缓慢进行的意思。如果重音放到第一音节，念成 progress， 它是名词，表示进步的意思。比如说 progress 当作动词的时候，凯莉的英文进步得很快，英文说得比之前流利，就可以说 Kelly's English is progressing really well. She's a much more fluent speaker than ever. 以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it, guys. That's our history unit for you. If you were interested in this, you might want to do some more research and see what else you can come up with on the greatest battle between these artists of the Renaissance period. So cool. That's it for today. We hope you'll join us for our next program. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.